Once upon a time, a beautiful woman married a man who turned her life into a nightmare. Her name was Sheila, and she was a very industrious woman, hardworking and diligent in everything she undertook. Sheila was introduced to Daniel by her dear mother, and soon after meeting, they got married and started living together from the day they got married. Daniel never considered Sheila his wife. He criticized everything she did and berated her at every opportunity. Despite this, Sheila never stopped showing her husband sincere love and attention. One day, Sheila prepared Daniel's favorite dish, believing it would cheer him up when he returned from the farm. However, things didn't go according to plan. Daniel accused Sheila of trying to kill him by throwing the food in his face and storming out. This broke Sheila's heart, for she had never understood what she could have done wrong to Daniel to deserve such a level of hatred. For years, Sheila never felt any love from her husband. She often ran to Daniel's mother to complain, and her mother always assured her that Daniel would change one day. But that change was nowhere in sight, as Daniel continued to treat Sheila like a stranger in her own home. One night, Sheila felt terribly ill. Her husband Daniel came home late that night and noticed that she was shivering. Daniel ignored his wife, not caring that she was ill, and went about his business as if nothing had happened. In the morning, Sheila struggled to get to the healer's hut. The healer's sister prepared herbs for her, saying Sheila was lucky to be alive after more than a week. Sheila stayed at the healer's hut to receive treatment, and in the meantime, Daniel never came to fetch her. A few days passed, and Sheila was now much better. She decided to return home and was faced with the surprise of her life. Sheila entered their house and met a strange woman in her kitchen. "What's going on here?" she asked her husband Daniel, who slapped her violently and warned her never to question him in her life. Sheila's eyes shone with confusion, for she didn't understand what was happening. The strange woman, whose name was Nicole, began to laugh as she walked away with Daniel, hurling mocking remarks at Sheila, who burst into tears. Sheila rushed to Daniel's mother's house to complain. When she learned that Daniel's mother had died a few nights earlier, she asked why she hadn't been informed of the funeral. The old man revealed that her husband Daniel had told the village elders that his wife had abandoned him. According to tradition, a man must bury his mother if he is married. He must come with his wife to perform the funeral rites. However, if he is not married, he is required to take a wife before he can proceed with his mother's burial. What had happened was that when Daniel's mother died, he had told the elders of the village that his wife had abandoned him. So the elders suggested that he take a new wife to enable him to bury his mother. Daniel soon married Nicole, his longtime love and the woman of his heart. Nicole was a woman Daniel loved with all his heart, but whom he could not marry because his mother was adamantly against the union. Nicole was the daughter of Daniel's mother's sworn enemy. When Daniel informed his mother of his intention to marry Nicole, she opposed the idea, saying that as long as she was alive, Daniel would never marry Nicole. This caused many problems for Daniel, who found it difficult to marry another woman. A few years later, Daniel's mother introduced him to Sheila, saying that Sheila was the right woman for him. Daniel wasn't interested in marrying Sheila, but his mother urged him to do so. And so Sheila found herself married to a man who had no interest in her and treated her badly. Sad and confused, Sheila decided to return to her husband. The pain of seeing her husband happy with another woman broke her in a way she had never imagined possible. The death of her stepmother also made matters worse, as she now found herself alone in the world, with no one to take care of her, not even a mother or father. As her parents had died many years ago, Sheila became a shadow of her former self as grief became her only companion. Daniel and Nicole made life unbearable for Sheila as they continued to spread their happiness before her, adding salt to her wounds. They basked in their newfound love, enjoying the life Daniel had denied Sheila since their marriage. Despite her grief and humiliation, Sheila continued to live in the same house with Daniel and Nicole. She endured the pain in silence, nursing the wounds that Daniel's cruelty had inflicted on her over the years. But what Daniel didn't realize was that Sheila loved him with all her heart. He was her first love and the only man she had ever loved in her life. Sheila could never have imagined how cruel love could be. For all her life she had longed for love, but life had treated her cruelly instead. One hot afternoon, Sheila was walking towards the village stream, lost in thought. She bumped into a young woman who noticed her absent-mindedness and asked her what the problem was. It was the first time someone had genuinely cared about Sheila and was willing to listen. So Sheila told the young woman everything she'd been through in her marriage. The young woman, whose name was Alice, became a true friend to Sheila. She became a shoulder for Sheila to lean on when the pressures of life weighed heavily on her. Alice encouraged Sheila to find strength within herself and to fight for her happiness. As the days went by, Alice's friendship became a source of consolation for Sheila. They spent time together, and soon Sheila was laughing and smiling again. One day, Sheila and Alice were chatting by the village stream when they heard a discussion about an upcoming festival in the village. The villagers were planning a festival to celebrate the birth of a royal baby, and everyone was excited about the festival. Alice saw this as an opportunity for Sheila to free herself from the shackles of her troubled marriage. She encouraged Sheila to take part in the festival to forget everything that had happened. Sheila, hesitant at first, agreed to take part in the festival, believing it was time for her to take charge of her life. As the day of the festival approached, Sheila immersed herself in the preparations and rehearsals. In the evenings, she stayed at the back of her house practicing her dance steps. Daniel mockingly remarked that no amount of dancing would change her misfortune. But encouraged by Alice, Sheila paid no attention to Daniel. As she immersed herself in her practice on the eve of the festival, Sheila and her co-participants gathered for their final rehearsal. When the village queen saw her dance, she was fascinated by the beauty with which Sheila danced. She asked her maids about Sheila, and they told her all the horrors Sheila had been through. The queen was touched by Sheila's story. On the day of the festival, Sheila, dressed in dazzling traditional garb, took to the festival grounds. Her unique dancing style caught the attention of all present, including the king, who marveled at the beauty with which Sheila danced. As Sheila danced, the villagers were captivated by her performance. Daniel, watching from the sidelines, couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. The attention Sheila was receiving made Daniel uncomfortable, and she regretted having underestimated her wife. The queen, deeply moved by Sheila's performance, rose to honor her. All the villagers opened their mouths in surprise, for this was the greatest honor anyone in the village had received in almost a decade. No one had ever received such an honor from the queen. The queen presented Sheila with a beautifully crafted necklace, a symbol of the queen's recognition and support. The festival, originally intended to celebrate the birth of a royal baby, turned into a celebration of Sheila. The whole village applauded and celebrated her courage and resilience. Sheila's story became an inspiration not only to those facing similar challenges, but to all those who witnessed her performance. In the days that followed, Sheila's life took a positive turn. The queen offered to be the mother she didn't have. After a long discussion with Sheila, the queen adopted her into the royal household as her daughter. Sheila automatically became a princess, and her marriage to Daniel was dissolved, as she and Daniel had never lived as husband and wife since their marriage. This was an automatic reason for dissolving a marriage in their village. Sheila was now free of her troubled marriage and began to live at the palace like a princess. Shortly afterwards, a prince from a neighboring village came to ask for Sheila's hand in marriage. He had seen Sheila at the festival and was interested in her, but was told she was married. Disappointed, the prince returned to his village, but couldn't stop thinking about Sheila. When the news of Sheila's marriage dissolution reached him, he was quick to declare his interest in marrying her. And so, Sheila married the prince who loved her with all his heart. She finally felt the love she had longed for all her life, for the prince loved everything about her, including the ground she walked on. Everyone envied Sheila, including Daniel and Nicole, who couldn't believe how beautifully Sheila's life had turned out. The lesson from this story is that whatever situation you find yourself in, don't give up, because the future could be so bright for you. Never look down on anyone in life or treat people unfairly because your actions might just break them. Learn to be kind to everyone you meet, because you never know what the future holds.